How is it going, everyone? It seemed a lot of you guys liked my deals preview of 2025 PlayStation titles, and I am here to do another video like that where we do a preview of some of the game deals I'd be looking out for, and we're gonna over-under the games. Now, this covers games from 2023 and 2024, and these are all physical games, so stuff like Baldur's Gate 3, not gonna be on this list. It'll be on sale in the PlayStation Store. And whatever price it is the price it's at. I have some ideas on what I would be looking for, but ultimately you would want to have interest in each individual game. I think just because you view a game as a good deal, if you don't have any intention on playing it in the near future, I would just be selective on what you're buying. I think that's one of the big things a lot of people are coming to understand, that yes, good deals are great, but the reality is, we all have a finite amount of time in this world, and if you buy 20 games during Black Friday, you probably ain't gonna be playing 20 games by the end of the year just because you don't have the time to play all of those games. You guys have jobs, you guys have kids, you guys have families, friends, etc., etc. But with that being said, got about 20 games to go over here, so let's get right into it. Stellar Blade, I would be looking at the over-under for this at $40. Anything under $40, I would say it's a good pickup. Shout out to somebody in the comments section on our first video saying the Gooners are keeping Stellar Blade's price up, because that person is 100% right. I talk up Stellar Blade all the time. I think it's a great game. I think it's a great debut title, you know, as a marquee AAA console game from Shift Up, but the reality is that game came out 18 months ago. No, over 18 months ago, like 20 months ago at this point. It should not be $50 regularly. Hell, I think $40 is kind of crazy for Stellar Blade. It's got like an 80 on Metacritic. It's a good game. It's a very good game. But the price point of $50 almost 2 years after launch is insanity. It is just objectively insane. I think it's a great game, and at 40 bucks it would be a good pickup. In reality, I would say $30 would be ideal. It's not going to get down to $30. First-party PlayStation games these days just hold up in price for a long time. But still, it is a worthwhile game to go through, and I know it's still going to be a game a lot of people look to pick up, but I would be looking at it for $40. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Mirage. We do have the Valley of Memory update coming out as of the recording of this video in just a couple of days. I'd be looking at the over-under for this at $15. I think AC Mirage is a really solid game. It's been down to $19.99, however, and $15 for a physical copy, I think that's the perfect price to pay. If it's a little bit cheaper, $9.99 would be like a killer deal, but $15 is what I would expect. I would also expect that Ubisoft just inherently wouldn't be putting the game on as deep of a discount, just because I would imagine they know there's going to be some, you know, heightened interest of the game with Valley of Memory coming out, but we'll see how that turns out. I think it's a worthwhile game, and I'm pretty down on Ubisoft as a whole these days, so, you know, $15 on that I think would be pretty good. Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed, look for that at under $15. When that game came out, I just thought the $60 price tag was a little bit too high, and it's been going on sale fairly quickly, and if you know THQ Nordic, their games just generally go on sale pretty quickly. I would be eyeing a $15 price point on that, and if you're a fan of platformers, I think that would be a great pickup for Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Really, if it's down to 20, I would still say that's a good pickup, but 15, that would be chef's kiss, a fantastic deal on that. Rise of the Ronin, I'd be looking at the over-under on that at $30. It's a Tecmo Koei game, and Tecmo Koei games just hold up in price forever. Like, for an egregious amount of time, Tecmo Koei games just hold up. I wouldn't even say Rise of the Ronin would really be worth that. Like, Rise of the Ronin is a totally serviceable, fine open world title, but a totally serviceable, fine open world title, you know, almost 2 years after release for $30, is that really what you want to pay? I don't know. If you're, like, into that style of game, if you're into the setting, if you're into the open world, a bunch of objectives on the map, and you do a bunch of things that, you know, is a little bit repetitive, yeah, you can have some fun with the game, and I certainly had some fun with the game, but for it to be at this hefty of a price point, I would say, if it was any other publisher, I'd be like, dude, no, wait for it to get cheaper. The reality is, with Tecmo Koei games, it probably won't get that much cheaper, so it is what it is. If you've been eyeing it for a while, 30 bucks is probably what I would be looking at. Star Wars Outlaws, over-under on that, let's put that at 20 bucks. If you've been following this channel for a little bit, you know my thought process on Outlaws and how I actually think it's gonna go. I think Outlaws is a game that absolutely got crapped on when it came out, and for a lot of the right reasons, your typical reasoning for crapping on a Ubisoft game, overpriced, etc., etc. I actually think there's a pretty decent open world game here, and I think over the years as it gets cheaper and cheaper, the rhetoric on this game has the potential to shift into people on social media being like, does anybody think Star Wars Outlaws is actually not that bad of a game and people hated on it a little bit too much? I do think that can happen, but once the game is at that price point where people are comfortable with buying it, I think $70 was crazy, the $130 Ultimate Edition or whatever was crazy, and I do actually think there's a pretty decent game in here. I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy in the world, but I always like the Star Wars like universe and the world design, but yeah, I would think for $20 it would be a pretty good pickup. If you want to wait for it to get cheaper, at some point it'll be on the PlayStation Store, it'll be the Ultimate Edition, and it'll be, you know, whatever, $15 or whatever, but I think over under $20, if it's under 20 bucks, I would say it would be a pretty decent pickup. Astro Bot, we're putting the over-under on that at $40. Look, it's the Game of the Year from PlayStation in 2024. It won the Game of the Year from the Video Game Awards as well, and PlayStation first-party titles just hold up in price. PlayStation published games in general just hold up in price. Astro Bot, I would expect the floor of this game, the price point that is, to be 40 bucks. And, you know, it's Game of the Year material. It's a great platformer, so even at $40, I feel like it's a worthwhile pickup. It's an essential game to have if you do have the PlayStation 5. It utilizes a lot of the elements of the PS5 that are, you know, unique to the PS5 of the DualSense controller, and it's an incredible game from a design standpoint. If you've been a long-time PlayStation fan, man, it's an absolute love letter to you. And a platformer paying $40 for it might sound like a lot to a lot of people, and I know I did just say Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Oh, we're waiting for that to go cheaper, and $60 was too much on that. Well, that was an upgraded release of an older Nintendo Wii game. This was a brand new title and was a marquee Game of the Year contender. I would say for 40 bucks it would be worth it, but you know, you could wait for it to get even cheaper, but I think that would be a good price. Metaphor ReFantazio, for me, this was my 2024 Game of the Year. I would put the over-under on this at $30. Sega generally does put their games on sale fairly quickly, and I mean, this game is a little over a year since it came out. I want to say last year during Black Friday it was down to 50 bucks. This year it being down to $30 I think makes sense. This is one game that has been holding up in price a little bit more than the other Sega games. You know, the other Sega published titles such as Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, those games hit the bargain bin pretty quickly, all things considered, given the quality level of those games. Metaphor has held up a little bit more at that $40 price threshold, but I think it's time for it to go to 30, maybe even 25. If it's at 25, like, that's a phenomenal deal, and Metaphor is just an incredible game, and I've played so many JRPGs. Metaphor is in my absolute upper echelon in the greatest JRPGs of all time. The game is absolutely outstanding. The soundtrack is incredible. The characters are great, and I like the game better than all of the Persona games, which I know some people disagree with. But regardless, it's a phenomenal game. So yeah, anything under $30 on that I think would be a great pickup. Next up, Lies of P. We're putting the over-under on this at $20. This is a game that has held up in price for a really long time, and hopefully we can finally get it south of 20 bucks. Overture just came out, and even with Overture coming out, it's not like they discounted the game even more. It would be great if they did a re-release, like a complete edition with Lies of P and Overture all on disc. A physical release of that would be fantastic, but who knows if they're going to end up doing that. Lies of P is a great Souls-like action RPG. It is generally considered to be the best non-From Software Souls-like, and a lot of people would put it above certain From Software games. Like, I think most people, as far as the hardcore fans of the genre that I talk to, everybody ranks like Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne among their top 3 to 5, and then Lies of P right underneath there. But some people put it in the mix of the top 3 as well. I really enjoyed the game. I love the setting. I thought it was great in that regard, and I think for south of $20, it would be fantastic. I always mention that, you know, it's funny, Lies of P came out in September of 2023. It just had an expansion release, and back in 2023, a game called RoboCop Rogue City came out. That game also had an expansion release. RoboCop Rogue City nowadays is literally in the bargain bin for $5, while Lies of P is still $30 on sale, which is kind of insane. Both games have been PlayStation Plus Essential titles, but Lies of P, buying the game has just just stayed at a more expensive price point. So hopefully we can finally get it south of 20 bucks. That would be great, and definitely a game that even as somebody that's not super into the genre would definitely recommend. Resident Evil 4 the remake, south of $15 on this I think makes a lot of sense. I mean, this has been out for a little bit, 2.5 years at this point. Got down to $19.99, you know, had its gold edition release, but has kind of settled in that $19.99 price point and hasn't gotten much cheaper. It'd be cool if it got down to $15. Most of you guys own it, but it's one of those games that I feel like you see it for 15 bucks. A lot of people would just buy it without even the notion of wanting to play it anytime in the near future, but that's just such a good price that a lot of people would just end up buying it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, gotta put the over-under on that at 30 bucks. The reality is Square Enix is putting out this like double pack, so I don't think they're gonna put this at that heavily discounted, since you don't want to dilute the price point of the double pack that's coming out like a couple weeks after Black Friday. But $30 for Rebirth, I mean, I think that would be a phenomenal deal. It's a game that I feel like most people with a PlayStation 5 at this point own, and if you don't, go play Remake, then go play Rebirth. Rebirth is phenomenal. It was a significant improvement upon Remake, but you have to still play Remake. I know Square Enix at a certain point was saying, oh, you can play Rebirth without playing Remake. Like, no, like, that would just be nonsensical, even though Rebirth's a better game. But, yeah, hopefully they do a good job with Part 3, and I could totally see Part 3 getting revealed here by the end of the year. With that double pack coming out, revealing Part 3 at the Video Game Awards, I think makes all the sense in the world, because I would imagine they're gonna try to get out Part 3 for early 2027, which would mean the game is like a little over a year away, which that's like exactly the same amount of time that Rebirth got announced. Now, Rebirth actually got announced in summer of 2022, which was a year and a half before it actually came out. Hopefully we do get the reveal of Part 3 here shortly, and I think it coming out in early 2027 just makes all the sense in the world, given that that would be 30 years after Final Fantasy VII the original came out. I believe it was early 97 that FF7 OG came out, so that would be kind of ridiculous and a great timing for that, and 3-year turnaround time for a big game like that, that's a huge W in today's gaming world. So Rebirth, nonetheless, $30 under that, it would be a great deal, and it was a lot of people's 2024 game of the year, so obviously a good pickup there. Marvel Spider-Man 2, you're looking for under $30 on that. It's been $40 quite a lot. Again, PlayStation first-party published title. It's gonna hold up in price, but I think at this point it should be under 30 bucks. I didn't like Spider-Man 2 as much as Spider-Man 2018. I still thought it was a good game. I just thought narratively it was nowhere near Spider-Man 2018. A lot of it was pacing issues, and I could do a whole video on that, but from a gameplay standpoint, I thought it was really, really solid. A lot of the added elements, the Venom abilities, I thought all of that was really, really well done. As far as a game that makes you feel like a badass, man, Spider-Man 2 makes you feel like an absolute badass at times. So $30 on that. Anything under that I think would be pretty good. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I would be looking for under 15 on that, but, you know, that's a game that you should be caught up with the Yakuza games, at least mostly caught up, you know, play some of the Kiryu games, play some, no, definitely play Yakuza Like a Dragon, and then you can play Infinite Wealth, given how much it ties back to the other games. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better games of 2024, and for a while I had it as my game of the year for 24, but then, you know, playing Metaphor, FF7 Rebirth, those games are definitely better, but it was still a great game. Great soundtrack in that title as well. It's a Yakuza game, it's a Like a Dragon title, great turn-based combat, so definitely under 15 bucks would be a good pickup on that. Dead Space the Remake, under 15 on that would be really good. That's a game that was a solid remake. It was a PS Plus Essential title not too long ago. Seemingly wasn't a commercial juggernaut, unfortunately. So, you know, Dead Space probably getting benched as an IP once again, but what can you do? It's a solid remake, and for $15 or less, I think it would be really good. Alan Wake 2, gonna be looking for under $25 on this. Remember that this is the deluxe edition when you buy it physically, so you get the DLC as well. I believe it comes with Alan Wake 1 as well. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, $25 on that I think would be pretty good. It was just a PlayStation Plus Essential title last month, and that was a pretty big addition to PS Plus Essential, but it was the base game that was on PS Plus. Alan Wake 2 is a game that, you know, I liked a lot of aspects to it. I did not think of it as this Game of the Year contender for 2023. I thought it was a solid game, don't get me wrong, but I did enjoy the first Alan Wake more relative to when the first Alan Wake came out. So, you know, obviously, if you compare the games side by side, Alan Wake 2 is way better from a visual standpoint. Even from a gameplay standpoint, I would say it's way better. You know, it's just that Alan Wake 1 clicked with me back in 2010 in a way that Alan Wake 2 really didn't. But Alan Wake 2 did have an incredible soundtrack, and I remember getting to the end of Chapter 1, and that, like, song played, I forget what it's called, but I was just blown away by it, and I think from an atmosphere and ambiance standpoint, the game is phenomenal. But yeah, nonetheless, a lot of people love it, and while I wouldn't say I loved it, I thought it was a pretty good game, and anything under 25 bucks would be a great deal on that. Next up, we have Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Anything under 20 bucks on this. Like I always say, I think this game was an absolute narrative disaster, but that is my opinion. In the reality, I understand that when a game is this divisive, it's a game that everybody should play, because there are people that think this is one of the greatest video games of all time. There are people that literally get tattoos for Last of Us Part 2. They get ink done, permanent ink done, for the quality of this game and how much the narrative connected with them. Like, for me, I thought this game was a narrative train wreck. I thought it was an abomination from a narrative standpoint. For other people, it was a narrative masterclass. So, I really do believe everybody should play this game and decide how you feel on it for yourself. And also, beyond that, this game is legitimately some of the best gameplay that a PlayStation game or any video game has had. In terms of a single-player game from a gameplay design standpoint, the game is absolutely outstanding. The visuals are incredible. The sound design is great. There are so many elements of this game that are so strong. However, with the Sony first-party games, they've always been so focused on high-quality storytelling that when the story is as divisive as Last of Us Part 2 is, especially coming off the heels of an incredible narrative experience in Last of Us Part 1, where it was generally unanimously agreed upon that Last of Us Part 1's narrative was incredible. Last of Us Part 2 certainly was always going to be a pretty divisive game, and I would say with the narrative being as bad as it is, and to me, I just think it's terrible. I legitimately think it's a trash tier narrative, and what I really hate about Last of Us Part 2 is you have this audience that love this narrative so much, and they almost sit on this on their high horse, being like, well, you guys just didn't understand the story of Last of Us Part 2. Did you guys know it's not about revenge in this game, it's about forgiveness? Yada yada. I'm like, dude, Last of Us Part 2's story was not that difficult to comprehend. Everybody was able to utilize 3 of their 4 brain cells and comprehend Last of Us Part 2's narrative. Like, that's not the difficult part about it. It's just, in my opinion, and a lot of other individuals' opinions, the game's narrative was trash. But I always say, again, everybody should play it, and it might resonate with you much more than it did me, and hey, more power to you. And the no return mode is great as well, so, you know, a lot of credit to them for that. All right, Persona 3 Reload, you're looking for under $15 on this. I would love to see a re-release on this where they include episode Aegis as well. I just don't know if they're looking to do that with all of the content on disc, but yeah, I don't know if they're looking to do that. Persona 3 was a pretty solid game though. A lot of the elements of the game, even being a ground-up remake, it is going to be a little bit dated. Like, the design of the Tartarus I thought was pretty bad, and I get that's what it was in the PlayStation 2. It's just going back and playing that in 2024, not ideal. The soundtrack is still incredible, the characters are great, and for $15 or less, I think it's a great pickup if you're into JRPGs. Speaking of if you're into JRPGs, Unicorn Overlord at under $20, I think would be a great deal as well. Great art style done by Vanillaware. Their games from a presentation standpoint are always stellar. Pretty good story. Tactics gameplay, you know, tactics titles aren't usually my favorite, but I thought this one was pretty well done, and for under 20 bucks, I think it's a pretty good deal. Silent Hill 2, the remake, anything under $25 I think would be pretty good on this. Really well done remake. It's great to see Silent Hill kind of on a bit of a hot streak. I know Silent Hill F was a little bit divisive. I wasn't crazy about that game, but Silent Hill 2, the remake, I thought was a really, really well done title, and Bloober Team reportedly working on the Silent Hill 1 remake as well. I believe that's confirmed. But yeah, $25 or less on that would be great. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, anything under $30 on this, I would say that's still probably a pretty hefty price point. It would be great to see that at like $20. Like $20 would be ideal. But $30 I still think would be pretty decent. It's essentially you paying 20 bucks for Horizon Zero Dawn, the Complete Edition, and then paying $10 for the upgrade. And the upgrade I do think is really good. I think some people view like Zero Dawn to Forbidden West not having this big graphical leap, when if you actually look at Zero Dawn and Forbidden West is a gigantic graphical leap over Zero Dawn. However, the remastered version of Zero Dawn does not bring it up to the level of Forbidden West, but damn it, it does up the visuals quite a bit, and I think it looks great. I'd also say Zero Dawn is just generally a really, really great game. I am bigger on the Horizon franchise than a lot of other people, though. Like, I've always said Horizon is my comfort food when it comes to PlayStation games. It's not perfect, but from what I like out of video games, man, it just hits the spot, and, from a narrative standpoint, Zero Dawn is a far better game than Forbidden West. Forbidden West kind of becomes a train wreck from a story standpoint, so it is what it is. But, yeah, look for that under 30. Ideally, I would say under 20, but yeah, it's a PlayStation title, you know. Again, those just hold up in price. And then lastly, we do have Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I would say look for this at under $15. I think that would be a pretty good pickup. I thought Jedi Survivor was a really, really good game, and I know some people weren't as crazy about it from a narrative standpoint as they were with Fallen Order. I think Jedi Survivor was actually a better game narratively than Fallen Order. I think the gameplay was better as well. I think the content was better. I just thought the game was fantastic top to bottom, so definitely would recommend that, especially if it's under $15. Yeah, no-brainer there. But that is gonna do it for me. Again, another preview of the games that potentially will be on sale. I foresee all of these games going on sale. Will they all be at these price points? I mean, I hope so. Hopefully even cheaper, but, you know, maybe I'm being a little bit too hopeful. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Probably will do one more video looking at some of the older titles, you know, 2021, 2022, around that range. But, again, that'll do it for me. Your thoughts down below. And as always, thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.